Good morning, everybody. Today's Exo session is going to be about back to basics. I want to cover some functionality of Exo that you may or may not know about, or you may not be using fully. So I'm just going to share my screen with you. And hopefully you can all see that now. Okay. So first of all, when you first open Exo, you may find that the screen is not optimal to what you want it to look like. I can see here this side of it's a bit squished up. I can't see all the options on the left-hand side. So I can resize that. What happens when you log in the next day? You've got to do it again. But what we can actually do, once we set that up to how we want it, if we go up to the very top line, right click, you'll see there's an option for form position, and we can click on save. So that means next time we log in, it's going to look like that and we don't have to keep changing it. And that's the same for any other screen that you may open, say, for example, your debtors screen and so forth. You've got the same option with your form position. You'll see there as well, there's a restore. So there's always an undo button if you don't get it right the first time. Next, let's have a look at what we've got on the left-hand side and the right-hand side of our main screens. You'll see here on the right-hand side, we've got, it says recent items. So what this is showing us is the accounts and some transactions that we've opened today. We can also see previous days if we've done anything on previous days. So if I've been looking at this customer here and I want to quickly go back to that customer, I can just double click there and it will take me to that customer's account. I don't have to go through the menu, so it's a nice quick shortcut. On the left-hand side, we've got similar. We've got recent actions. So instead of being recent accounts that we may have opened, these will be recent processes that we've done. For example, we've looked at the GL trial balance tree, or we've run a report, etc. So again, another good shortcut way to get to transactions that you may be using on a regular basis. Our favourite items is very similar as well, except these are the commonly used ones. So you may not use them every day, but you may use them much more regularly than other processes. So again, it's just a matter of double clicking to take you to that screen. In the third section, we've got our favourite reports. So these are our most commonly used reports. So if this is something that you're doing on a regular basis, again, you don't have to go through all the report menu options to find it. It's quite easy just to double click and find that report. You may notice up the top, we've got a search button. So this search button here will actually search all of the menu options within Exo. So if I type in debtor, you'll see there, I've got transactions, I've got account screens, I've got reports, anything that's got the word debtor in it. So that's a really good way to find things rather than have to traipse through menus to try and find what you're looking for. So some of you may not want this. You can unpin it if you like. So we've got a little pin at the top and you'll see there as I move the mouse away, it's now hidden there. I can bring it back just by pinning it again. A relatively new function that you'll find in versions 2021 onwards is message and disconnect users. So if I click on this one here, it opens a new screen and I can see there that currently there are 2 users logged into Exo. If I click on new, you'll see there I've got 3 options for actions. I can request a logout, force a logout, or message only. So if I do a message only, this might be for things such as you want to just let people know that it's month end today, close off is 5 o'clock, make sure you get all of your transactions in. Or you might be looking to find somebody may have a locked record and you need to get that person to jump out of there and you're not sure who it is. So it's not replacing Teams or anything, but it's good for messages relating to Exo. So we can just type in here, reminder, month end today, and I can send that message. So I've got somebody logged in over here. That message will pop up shortly. There we go. So that person being logged in will see that message. But if there are other people that aren't logged in at the time, the next time they do log in, they will see that message. So that's quite handy there. I can complete that, that's done. The other options is we've got request logout and force logout. So the request logout could just basically asks people to log out. And you'll see there that there's a time message. So you might say, please log out by such and such a time, or please log out within the next 5 minutes. So again, we can send a message. And then that again will show up. If we wanted to force, just go no, because I don't want them to close out. So you'll see there it's asking them to log out. If, for example, this person's gone home or they've gone out to lunch, but I need to do something, I need to log them out, I need to use their license, I can just come up here and disconnect the user. So that's a great, relatively new feature. Oh, it's telling us they're gone, killed their session. One thing is, though, it's not obviously not available to everybody. We don't want that. So you'll notice in the staff setup form that there's a new option that we need to tick on called Can Disconnect Users. So you obviously want to be very careful who you would give that to, but you can see that there are definitely some values in sending messages as well as forcing logouts. The next thing I'd like to look at today is the Exo Grid. So most of you will be familiar with the Exo Grid. I'm sure we've all used it to cut and paste details into Excel. You've got your right click, copy to clipboard, but there's also a number of other functions within the Exo Grid. So if I right click, you can see there I can select visible columns, I can show or hide columns, I can resize the columns, and I can also rearrange the order. So if I select visible columns, you can see there what's ticked on is obviously showing, what's not ticked is not showing. So for example, for me, I might like to see age, I might like to see the batch number because I do banking batches, the GL batch, and the exchange rate because I'm looking at I've got foreign currency debtors. So if I scroll across, you can see I've now got those columns there. So you'll notice that there are a number of columns there, but say, for example, there is a column that you want to see on there, just get in touch with support. It's possible that we can add it. Some we can, some we can't, but just let us know and we'll see what we can do. Now, I want to see that exchange rate over here, so I can move that if I like. I can expand columns, I can shrink columns, I can sort, I can do whatever I sort of want there. Once I've decided that that's how I want it all to look, I can right click and save the column settings. The save column settings is user specific. So I've done that to my Exo screen, but somebody else in my organisation, they won't see the changes that I've made because it's specific to each user. So this is great because different users may do different functions within the organisation, so they can set it up as they like. Another function in our right-click menu is we've got Find. So if I've got a huge list of transactions there and I'm looking for a specific invoice number, I can just type that in and it'll find it there for me. I don't have to right-click though. I can just go Control F to find that Find function. The other thing I can do with an Exo Grid is I can sort. I can sort by amount, I can sort by date, I can sort by transaction number. So again, you've got all of those functionalities there. If I didn't want to sort, if I just wanted to lock that, I could do that and that would stop me from sorting. If I set that back to natural order, there we go. And again, like we had the reset button, for changing the form position. We also have a reset button here. If we muck it up and we want it back to where it was, we can just restore those default column settings. Okay. Next, I'd like to look at the grid widget. So as you may be aware, there's a number of different widgets in Exo. We have form widgets, pivot widgets, graph widgets. But looking at grids, following on from what we've just looked at, we can add a grid widget. Now, I'll just use this one here as an example, the customer sales history. So when I select a widget, it just pops itself on the screen there. So you can see here how this is a grid. So I can resize my columns, I can move them around, and then I can save them as I want to, copy to clipboard, etc. Same kind of deal. Now, if this is something that I want permanently to see on my screen, if I click on the top purple button and just move it slightly, you'll see I'll get this docking control here. Now I can put it to the top of the screen, the right of the screen, left of the screen, bottom of the screen, or I can throw it into the middle, which will actually create another tab for me. I can move that, oh, very sensitive there, isn't it? Move that tab into the middle, and there we go. So you can see that you can do exactly the same with widgets if they're a grid. One thing just on the widgets, this is a customer sales history, so I'd like to be able to drill down to those. If I check the SQL, I can click the grid and say, I want to be able to drill down to the debtors if I double click on that. So there we go. Okay. And if I want to save that, I just click on the save button here, give it a name, and then that's there for next time when I come. I can move that around so that my sales workflow is my main screen there. Okay, lastly, I'd just like to go through one of my favourites as an accountant. I love this screen. It's called the GL trial balance tree. First of all, when we open the GL trial balance tree, we want to make sure that it's balanced down in the right-hand corner here. This basically means that all of our financial transactions that are in Exo are all balanced, and most of the time they are. There may be the odd occasion where perhaps there's an invalid GL account or something's gone wrong at year-end rollover or whatever the reason. So if you see that out of balance by more than a couple of cents, which is just rounding, please let us know and we can have a look at that for you and get that sorted. So you'll see here, looking at the options, I can view the trial balance, which is all of my accounts, or I may just view the profit and loss, and I click on load to refresh that screen, or I might just want to view the balance sheet. I go back to profit and loss. You'll see here up the top, I've got the options to expand all. So if I click on expand all, I can see all of the accounts that make up those different account groups, and then I can collapse them. Now, whatever I see on the screen there, we've got a grid here as well. We've only got the option to copy to clipboard on this one though, so it's not as functional obviously, but whatever we put on that screen, we can then see. Now, if I wanted to look at year to date, or I wanted to do an age, so for example, I might want to look at my financial year, just for my profit and loss, what's happened in this current financial year. You'll see that on the right-hand side, these options became available. So I can use sub-accounts. So expand all. Now I'm not just seeing sales and depreciation, I'm seeing all the sub-accounts related to those. I can hide zero balances, etc. If I just wanted to see it by branch, again, I can do that as well. If you're using consolidations and you're in a consolidated company file, then you would have the option to just look at it by a particular company as well. Once I've got this screen here, if I wanted to have a look at, well, what is actually in that account, I can see the transactions. And you'll see there that it's kept the criteria that I had in the trial balance tree. So I've got November to July, my sub-account electrical, and my branch being Sydney. So that's all I really wanted to cover today. So hopefully everyone got a tip or two out of that. And thank you for your time. And if you've got any questions, please reach out to the support team and we're happy to help.